Okay, very good. Thank you, Alex, and welcome everyone. Today is exciting. We are going to tell you all about what we have prepared for you. And this is for the 2023 United Nations Datathon. So thank you for joining here today, or if you look at it from a recording. So today we are going to indicate what we need your teams to be doing, and which resources we have made available for you. You will also see how you can communicate with other teams, which I think is also an important part of the Datathon. So very exciting to have everyone here. Here's the overview of the agenda. We'll go through the theme, practical information, the timeline, communication platform, and then we go into judging. We also have slides on awards, and then the opening and closing ceremonies, which will take place in various locations, but the main location is in Montevideo, and it will be on Friday the 3rd of November, which is just a little bit more than 1 week from now. That's when everything will start. If you go to the next slide, Alex. So here we have, this is now indicated in hours. The slide is updated here. 67 hours is the length of the Datathon, to be exact. We have teams from 110 countries. We have over 400 teams and more than 1,600 participants. Most of our teams will be connecting remotely, but we do have some on-site teams as well, and we're very happy with that. We have some teams in Montevideo. Montevideo is a little bit our center of the Datathon, Montevideo in Uruguay. We have also some on-site teams in Kigali, Rwanda, in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, in Hangzhou, China, in Brisbane, Australia, and in Geneva, Switzerland. So we have some on-site participation as well of teams. If we go to the next slide, and you can click on the following. So we have had this year at the United Nations in New York in September, we had the SDG Summit, so the Summit on the Sustainable Development Goals. It's about halfway up to 2030 from the start of the Sustainable Development Goals from 2015 onwards. What is clear is that there is more needed to actually achieve the goals by 2030. So that was the message in general from the SDG Summit here in New York. So how can we accelerate to achieve these goals, or most of the goals, if possible, by 2030? What was identified at the summit were 6 key, what they call key transitions, so key areas where progress wants to be made. And those are indicated here on the screen. And those are the areas that we would like you to have a look at very closely as a theme of our Datathon. So the areas are food systems, energy access and affordability, digital connectivity, about education, jobs and social protection, and the 6th area, climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution. So those are the areas you can choose from, or you can choose more than one if you like, or combine them. But we hope that you find a data solution in one of those. In addition, there are some enablers that would help in those areas to make progress. And oops, this is a little too fast. Alex, I like the enthusiasm, but 1 second. As you see in the middle of the screen here, one of the enablers that we want to focus on also in your data solutions is the geospatial aspect. So SDG localization. And SDG localization means if these data solutions that your team is providing, if it can be applied on local level. I mean, local level could be a country, but local level could also be at a level which is even at a geographically lower level than a country. So, is there an area or a region or a city or some specific geographical area where you could focus on? So that's what we like to introduce, this geospatial element of your solutions. If you go to the next slide, Alex. So what do we expect? What is your challenge of the team? So create an innovative data solution which tackles local sustainability development challenges and leverages one or several of the six transitions or the six topics that were just indicated. So geospatial solution, we hope that you can do it. We hope also that whatever solution you have, if it is applied to a certain area, that it also could be maybe replicated elsewhere. So think about it, the scalability of your data solution. That would also be important in the judging of the achievement of your team. If we go to the next slide. We have prepared several or quite a few data sets or data portals is the better word. So where can you find some data sets that can help you? We have specifically identified, this is on the right side of the screen, geospatial data sets. So geospatial data sets will help you drill down to certain kind of geographical areas, if you like. So have a look at the various geospatial data sets that are there. We have many data sets from international statistical institutes, which include also national data. So even though they're prepared by the international institutes, they also apply to countries or even sub-levels within countries. And then we have some national offices that have specifically indicated data sets for their countries. So we have Uruguay, Brazil, Australia, and we will also have some of China up there. Then we have, to help you, we identified, we put tags to data sets so that you can see in which, if they apply to the area of the themes. So we have data sets by air emission, climate change, education, energy, employment, as is indicated here. There are actually a few more than I put on the slide here, but that you will see when we show you a little bit later in this presentation, in this webinar presentation of the resources that we provide for you. So use these data sets. If you have data sets yourself which are not suggested, you can use them, but you have to make sure that they're open source data sets. So this is the message here on the left side of the screen. Make sure they're open source data sets, that they're publicly available, and that they're available for free. And that you reference those data sets also in your final submission. So those are a little bit the requirements if you want to use your own kinds of data sets, so that we have a fair playing field for everyone. I think from here I will hand it over to the next person. If we go to the next slide.
Yep, I think we'll go over the wiki first and then pick
we'll
up
go
submission after that.
Yeah, okay. Clarence, to you.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm Clarence Leo from UNS, and I'll just be showing you the documentation wiki that we put together for you guys that will have all this information, and we'll take a look at it now. So the website is now updated with a link to the wiki. If you visit it, I hope you're as familiar with this website now as I am. But we have it at the top under the countdown, so you can easily find it here. And then there's another link over here at the at a glance. This link here, and then we have also link to the theme, directly to the theme, so you can read up more about it. And here we go to the wiki. And of course, it's down. Great. So I'm going to pick up on the webinar and we'll check back later on the wiki. Well, I'll check back on the presentation. We'll do the presentation. So Maima, do you want to pick up?
Of course, Clarence. Yeah, so basically, I think the most important thing for you guys at the moment, one of the most important things, is to understand what are the expected deliverables. So you will be given the link to a submission survey where we will ask you to populate, again, some of your team's information, because we've received a lot of emails asking for some changes. So we want to make sure that we know exactly who in your team is actually participating in the datathon. And on top of it, you'll be putting in links to, I would say, like 3 main deliverables. The first one is a presentation or a story map that is explaining your solution. You can find on the right a screenshot, and we'll also put a link in the wiki that kind of gives you an overview of what the story map should look like if you were to kind of go down this path. But a presentation in PowerPoint format, PDF format also works perfectly. The second deliverable is a video, which would basically be a video of you explaining your solution or a voiceover, whatever it is you decide to do. That would be of maximum length of 10 minutes, where you will again be explaining your solution, and we would like for most of your team members to be presenting alongside you because that will be part of the judging criteria as well. And the third and last one is a GitHub repo that will have an MIT license, the text of which you can find in the wiki as well, in the submission part of the wiki. And so in this GitHub repo, you can put any of the coding scripts. It could also be, if you want, put like files for your Power BI dashboards, Tableau dashboards, whatever that is. But we want you to kind of try and create your GitHub repo and make sure that everything that you would have used for your analysis will be included in there. And of course, if you have any additional information, we had people last year share with us links to HTML online, to print presentation, whatever that is, you can also include that as part of your submission. So again, the 3 submissions, the presentation, the video, voiceover, as well as the GitHub repo are all mandatory. If you miss one of these 3, then you'll have a penalty in your final grade. So yeah, that's it from the deliverable side of things. Maybe we can move on to, yeah, I can take it over. So with regards to the Datathon's timeline, as you know, the Datathon will be starting on November 3rd at 2 p.m. Central Time -3, so it's going to be basically your great time. So please double check your local times. We put a link in there in the presentation that we'll be sharing with you, putting it on the website as well as sharing with you over email, and it will serve as a guide for you as you start the Datathon journey. The kickoff will also happen at 3 p.m. on November 3rd. We'll have, November 4 through November 6th for any hacking involved. And the deadline, which is going to be a strict deadline, is going to be on November 6th at 10 a.m. Uruguay time. We will announce the winners on December 19th. And we'll also be holding a closing ceremony with webinar presentation of winners from place 1 to 3 on January 18th. So we hope we'll be able to see you up till then to be able to make sure that people are aware of the winning solutions.
Hey, am I unmuted? Yes, I am. So looks like it was just a little hiccup and the wiki's back. So we'll take a look now. Right, so I showed you the links from the website, and when you click on them, you get brought here to the wiki. And here we have an introduction. We have links to pages on the wiki that are very important. So you have your Datathon Essentials. So this was the previous participants page that was on the wiki. This is updated now, so I would refer to this page. We no longer link to the old page. So if you need if you're trying to look up any of the rules or guidelines, check this page, Datathon Essentials. We have another page, Communication Channels. So these link to the communication channels that you can use during the Datathon. I hope most of you have already joined the UN Datathon group on the global network. So this is where you should go to ask questions before the Datathon starts. But now that we're launching the wiki and the Discord channel, you can also come here. So this is the link to the Discord channel. We'll have the organizers will be there. We'll have mentors there, so you can ask your questions there. If you have any questions, I think this might be the best place to go, as it will. This is most likely to be seen rather than email or leaving a comment on the wiki. Here are social media accounts, mailing list, and direct email. Back to this page, also listed here as a submission guide, and all of these are linked to on the side panel here, as you can see. The data sets that Ronald mentioned earlier, we'll take a look at that. And then we have documentation on the technical platforms. So we're very lucky to offer 4 technology partners who are offering services, tools, and resources during the Datathon. And as many of you may not be familiar with them, we've provided, and they have provided documentation. So we have Amazon Web Services, we have Esri, we have NetApp Ocean for Apache Spark, and we have a pet challenge track, which is run by Oblivious.ai. And we'll go over those a little bit in detail later. And then we have the links to all the webinars, which are already on the website, but they're here again. Just we want to provide them as easy access to them as possible, so you can learn and get empowered for the Datathon. I know this is all a lot of information to look at, so we have a little box, feeling a little overwhelmed. And we have a special page for you that kind of breaks everything down, and that's called the Getting Started with UN Datathon 2023 page, and we'll look at that next. But I just wanted to go over all the other sections on this home page. So we have a search function. So if you want to look up Python, right? You're very familiar with Python, you want to know where you can use it, look it up here. We also have popular tags. We have our featured pages here. So this is similar to this list here, but I think there's 1 or 2 extra. But if you want to look something quickly up that's that you think is core to the Datathon, is probably on one of these featured pages. Recently updated pages are listed here. So you come back today, you come back tomorrow, you can see what's been updated. We are still adding to the wiki, right? So you might want to, if you are looking for something and you don't see it here yet, you can come back and check back in a few days, and during the web, and everything should be here during the Datathon. But just in case you want to look something up beforehand, you can check the recently updated pages. This section here will be pretty important during the Datathon. If anything goes wrong, like the wiki goes down for 10 minutes, we will post it here. If the wiki goes down, you won't be able to see it here. But you can check Discord. We have an announcements channel on Discord, and we also will post updates here. So getting started with the UN Datathon 2023 page. So here we have a brief introduction to the UN Datathon, the partners and tools available, and links to pages. You can read through all this later on your own. This is our credentials section. So this is how you will get your credentials for all these, our technical partners and their platforms. One important thing is if you want to work with AIS data on the NetApp Ocean for Apache Spark platform, we have a form that you can request access to. So if you click here, okay. This is just a quick form. All you have to do is put your team name, your names, and your emails for any of your team members who need access to the data, or all of them, and then we'll issue you credentials based on that form. So if you want to work on AIS data or on the NetApp Ocean for Apache Spark platform, request through that form. We have a little section here that links to the data sets and have our little rule about data sets, about that they must be public and openly available, and the link to the list of data sets, which we'll go over, but they're also linked to right here on the left side nav bar. Then we have our technical tools and resources, and this is just a brief introduction to them, so you can just take a look. A lot of these you might not be familiar with. I was not familiar with Amazon Athena, EMR, or QuickSight. So we have a brief description here, and when you click on these links, it'll bring you to more detailed documentation on them. Further down, we have our other partner, Esri. And then they listed their tools, like their online map viewer, their web apps, ArcGIS Pro, and and Story Maps. Story Maps is actually pretty important because you have the option to use that as a way of submitting a presentation in your submission. So I would take a look at that as well. There is some documentation for NetApp Ocean for Apache Spark. More will be added soon, so keep an eye on this section. And the Pet Challenge track will also have more information being added soon. So to the next important page. So this is the UN Datathon theme page, which was revealed by Ronald about 10 minutes ago. So here's more detailed information about it. You can read about it. There are a lot of links here, so you can read up about what the 6 key transitions really are and about them. We have the call to action as a challenge at the bottom, and there are additional reading links here. We also have a concept note for the theme, which you can download and view over here. And this is, as I showed earlier, this is linked to from the main page of the Datathon. The Datathon Essentials, again, is the page that was the previous. So this has important dates, on-site logistics and information. So as if any information, if you're on site and you're looking for information, we'll add some more here. The judging criteria is here and the awards list is here. And then we have, of course, our respectful behavior and adherence to UN principles. So I mean, I trust everyone here is professional. So, but just take a look at this. You know, these are just general behavior rules during the Datathon. Next, we have our submission guide. We'll come back to this later when Omaima goes over the submission. We also have frequently asked questions and the event schedule during the Datathon. So most of these will be on site. I mean, all of these will be on site in Montevideo, but most of them will be live streamed. So you can check back here and we'll have this column filled with virtual links on how to join them. Moving on to the dataset section, as Ronald mentioned earlier in his presentation, we have the datasets by theme. So let's say you wanted to look at climate change. So if you just click here, and then you can see a list of the datasets that are available that have that have climate change related datasets, and then you can also see what other themes that might be related to that. We have datasets by source, as Ronald mentioned. So you can click these, and we have the geospatial datasets here, separated by statistical community, research community, and private sector. And then we have the list of all the data sets provided by international statistical institutes. So you can have, you see the tags here, and similarly, when I clicked on it before, the same thing happens when you click on it here. This is the direct link to the data set. Some of these, if you have time, I would definitely take a look and browse through them, because some of these links are links to hundreds of data sets within them. Especially if you see multiple tags, that means there's a lot of data and information available at these links. And then finally, we have the National Statistical Institute's data set. So we have, right now we have data sets from Uruguay, Brazil, and Australia. And Uruguay is actually separated by themes as well. So you can take a look at that. And we'll move on to the technical documentation section. So as you can see here, it's pretty meaty. You can take a look at it on your own. I would take a look at any tools you would like to use and take a deep dive into them if possible. Esris are here. And for NetApp, we have some documentation. And we have some Jupyter notebooks that are in tutorials. So, you know, it's all listed here with the code. So you guys can take a look. This is extremely long. And it's actually pretty fun because it's a demo, right? So you can go through it and learn while it's a hands-on demo. And here's some more code that you can look at to work with how to work with AIS data. And don't forget, if you want to work with AIS data or the NetApp Ocean for Apache Spark, please request through the form. And then we have our privacy enhancing challenge track. So more information will be here, more information about the track, how it will work, and the data sets available for it, because it will have specific data sets. So please check back here soon. And they also have a lot of information about how to use privacy enhancing tools. One other thing, they're having a lot of office hours, one actually right after this webinar, and then one pretty much every day until the Datathon. So if you're interested in the privacy enhancing techniques challenge, I would definitely join this. I just got the 2 recordings for the first 2, so they will be up here on the wiki and on the website very soon. For the webinars, we have all the webinars listed here. They link directly to the pages with the recordings and any available presentations for them. The training webinars are here, and the office hours are all here. So we had 4 from our partners at AWS. Those are available here and on the website. Esri is here, and Oblivious, all of theirs are here as well. And just another note, there is an option to add comments on the wiki on every page at the very bottom. Again, if you have a question, you could post it here, but I would post it to the Discord because that's where it's most likely to be seen. And now I'll give it to Omaima to go over the submissions, and we'll go to the presentation for that. 1 second, sorry. Oh no, she did submission, sorry.
Yeah.
So here we have the checklist that Omaima went over and some information on the survey you'll be adding, and the MIT license information. Sorry. Omaima, I think you're picking up here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Clarence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've already received some emails. I feel like a lot of you are already trying to get access to Discord, which is great. So this year we're going to be using Discord as our main communication platform. This is where you'll get to communicate with mentors, see any special announcements. I'll go over the channels one by one. But we do also encourage you, if you want to, of course, to create a private channel for your team as well. So as I mentioned, there will be multiple sub-channels. One with announcements where we will put any important information as well as the countdown. We'll have a channel dedicated to datasets. So if you have any questions about datasets that are, provided to you, suggested to you by us, you can ask them here. But we also had teams last year use this channel to share some interesting datasets that they found outside of, the list that we provided them with. There will also be a channel called technical issues. So for now, we're only going to have one channel, technical issues, where you can ask any Python, AWS, ArcGIS, whatever issue you are experiencing with any of the platforms that we are suggesting you use, or any other ones that you're using outside of what we're providing you with. But we might, if we see there are an overwhelming number of questions, we might actually create dedicated channels to each of the platforms so that you can actually find your way through them. The 4th channel is the submission questions. So we know you might have questions about the format, about the length, asking for help about putting together your problem statement. Whatever questions you might have, you can ask them in there, and people can actually come in and answer and kind of help you navigate your submission. And we'll also have a mentorship channel. So this is where if you need some urgent help, you can ask for help from any of our mentors who will have specific times of availability throughout the Datathon. You can ask for help to get a quick session, like Teams, Zoom's call with a mentor, and we'll try as much as possible to get back to you and to make sure a mentor can actually come in and get on a call with you. And last but not least, we'll also have a UN Datathon Lounge channel where you can hype each other up, ask questions to other teams, get to know each other, present yourselves. This Datathon is also a great opportunity for you to network with other participants and mentors. So this channel will be meant just for that. So teams, are also encouraged to help each other. Do not wait for mentors to reply. If you have the answer, or if you want to help some of the teams, please go ahead and do that. We actually look into this as well. We look at teams that help each other's out. But again, we'll probably have almost 24/7 coverage because we have mentors from all around the world, which is going to be very exciting, hopefully. All right. And so we then are moving on to the judging criteria. So this is subject to change. But right now, these are the 5 main things that you should be on the lookout for during your project. We'll be looking into many different criteria, and it's important for you to be aware of them. So the first one, of course, is the theme. So as the theme is pretty broad, so we're really hoping that you'll be able to develop a solution that will be perfectly in line with the event's theme. As well as whether this solution is going to be realistic and scalable. So you can again take a look at the wiki with a thorough description of the theme for reference. The second, and I would say one of the most important things as part of the Datathon, is how innovative your solution is going to be. Are you thinking out of the box? Is your solution potentially groundbreaking? And are you using some methods that are pretty interesting or new to yourself, or new to us as well? That will definitely be something that we'll be on the lookout for. The usefulness and impact is always something that is important. As you know, we're looking for solutions that are in line with the theme, but also that would help address some of the SDG challenges. So if your solution might be filling, real people need, or might have immediate impact, or can actually be further developed, then that would be really, really positive. We'll also be looking into your presentation and information graphics as part of also, whether your PowerPoints or story map, but also your video. So it's really important to be able to present yourself, present your project, present your thought process. We know 3 days, 4 days is not a lot to come up with a groundbreaking solution, but we're also put forward the fact that you actually have a narrative, that you're able to put this together, and that's why the communication and storytelling criterion is also important. So, if you have a prototype that is not ready, but you're able to explain how you came up with the idea, how you developed it, and you're able to explain this throughout your presentation, this is also very important. Just like for the submission, we have like 3 main submission items. And of course, if you're missing one, unfortunately, you will incur a penalty. As well as if you go ahead and use some private data, because as we mentioned, we only acknowledge open source data sets that you actually should reference in your presentation. So yeah, that's pretty much it with regards to judging criteria.
Yeah, then we move to the awards. First of all, just wanted to mention that, and also thank all of my colleagues who have been working here. There is as you have seen, there's a ton of information that is available for you. So please have a look in this week before the Datathon starts on the various documentations, and so you can prepare yourself. The technical solutions that we have will be available as of the start of the Datathon on the 3rd of November, right? So that's when you get that's when your credentials to the various technical platforms will work. But have a look beforehand so that you are prepared when the Datathon actually starts. Yes, you can have a look at the webinar. Was impressed with how Clarence showed you all of these documentation, and I can advise you look it over the webinar again, maybe 3 times, to really catch everything that's in there. The awards that you can get, so we will have several of them. We have the overall best team awards for a 1, 2, and 3 top teams of the overall Datathon. But we will also have other recognitions of specific youth teams, our student teams, and then also recognition of teams by region, and they're listed here on the screen. For the overall team, we will try to get 1 or more team members of the winning team to one of our main events. And that's the main events in the area of the statistical community in 2024. So that could be our big data conference, as we call that, which will be at the end of May 2024 in Bilbao, Spain, or it could be in Colombia in November 2024 at the World Data Forum. So we will that will be the main prize is for your teams to be attending that event. We do, and I want to stress that we are working with various public and private sector partner organizations who have shown interest to give a follow-up on data solutions that they think are very interested and that are scalable. So if your solution, and we expect that to be one of the winning teams in any of the categories, is picked up by one of our partners it means that we can work further on that solution with you and see if we can actually bring it into action or scale it to a certain level. I think that's it on the awards. The main award is, I think, working together with all of the teams, and that, I think, is an award that everybody gets. So having fun and working together, I think, is a big plus. But then we will also recognize the teams with specific solutions. Yeah, back to you, Alex, on this.
Yes, thank you, Ronald. So I just want to say a few words about the opening ceremony mainly. So the opening ceremony will take place on Friday, the 3rd of November from 2 to 3 o'clock local time Montevideo. So that's UTC -3. And we will stream the opening ceremony also worldwide to all of you. We will share the links to the opening ceremony and other events on the wiki, as Clarence has pointed out, but we will also send you an email with the connection details for the opening ceremony. I just wanted to go quickly over the program of the opening ceremony. So we will have some remarks by our local host, the director of the INE, so the Instituto Nacional de Estadísticas, so the National Statistical Institute of Uruguay. We will show a short video about the Datathon. After that, our director of the United Nations Statistics Division here in New York will speak. So this is our colleague Stefan Schweinfest. Then we will have the chair of the UN Committee of Experts on Big Data and Data Science for Official Statistics, Risenga Maluleke, who is from South Africa. This will be followed by Barbara del Castello, chair of the UN Major Group for Children and Youth. Then we will show a short video on SDG localization, which is basically part of our main theme this year and about the 6 key transitions. After that, we have some additional colleagues who will speak. So we have Freddy Rodriguez Galvis. He's from the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data. And this organization is the organizer of the Festival de Datos, so the Data Fest in Punta del Este in Uruguay, which will take place right after the UN Datathon. In addition, we have Pablo Ruiz Yebra, the UN Resident Coordinator for Uruguay, and Rolando Ocampo, who is the Director of Statistics at the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, known as UN ECLAC, or better known in Spanish as CEPAL. The official start of the UN Datathon is at 3 o'clock local time in Montevideo. I have shared in the meeting chat a link to a tool where you can convert basically this time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, local time Montevideo, to your city. It's already preset with the locations and time zones of the other satellite locations of the UN Datathon around the world. And yeah, so this will be the program right after the opening ceremony. You can start working on your solutions, and we will close our competition at 10 o'clock Monday morning. This is the 6th of November at 10 o'clock in local time Montevideo, and we will close the event with a closing ceremony, which will start at that time and will go for roughly 30 to 40 minutes. So we will share the connection links to all this via email and on the wiki. Thanks, and back to you. Clarence, can you move to the, yes, thank you. And click a couple of times. And I believe it's Umaima, right, who will be talking about this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just like, this is the third edition of the Datathon, and we know sometimes it might be like scary, or especially like if you're a beginner in data science, you might not really know where to get started. So this is like just a piece of advice. Like, this is really a good opportunity for you to test out your data skills or to learn new things. Basically, we had some very beginning teams last year, some very experts team last year, but overall, some advice on how to make the most out of this experience, of course, is not to stress out. Do your best overall. Make sure to have a good communication with your team. Try to set up meetings so that everyone is aware of the progress and everyone knows exactly what to focus on. We know that it might be stressful to start the slides at the very end, so really just put anything you have, any results you have on slides. Don't worry about the format, just put the content, and then you can, the few last hours you can work on the format, but the content is very important. So make sure to kind of start the slides pretty early on, as soon as you start having some results. Try to manage your time. 4 days really passes really, really quickly, especially if you're not doing this, full time. So just try to be mindful of your time, be mindful of what you expect yourself to be able to accomplish, and just try to juggle whatever you can out of the Datathon. Something also important, not to feel overwhelmed, is to divide and conquer. Team dynamics, again, is very important. So make sure to divide up the work, and that everyone is accountable for their work, and that you're able to sync regularly on the progress so that you know where you're standing. And last but not least, do not hesitate to reach out to us. There's no dumb questions. There's no like wasting our time or anything. If you have any questions, if you're stuck somewhere, if you need help, even with the problem statement, don't hesitate to reach out to us on Discord. We have multiple channels, each of them for like specific items, but also like you can shoot us an email, or like reach out to us personally on Discord. We are here to help as much as possible. It's better to do your best and finish and submit a solution, even if it's not perfect, than just like abandon. So we really don't want to leave anyone behind, literally. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. And yeah, that's it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say, so we will start now with a Q&A session. So if you have questions, put them please in the meeting chat. We also have a number of communication channels. So the most important ones are really from now on the Discord channel, but you can also reach out to email to us. But the response time there might be longer than if you use the Discord channel. And you can, of course, follow us on social media at the various social media tools with the handle UN Datathon. So we will try now to switch on the microphones and also the cameras. Just give me a moment for that. While we do that, maybe Sean or Umaima can explain a little bit more the part of the GitHub. So submitting the code via Git. What is needed there? Where should they submit it? How does it work? Maybe you can say a few words about that.
Would you like to say, Mama?
Go ahead, Sean.
So one of the outcomes of that Datathon we'd like to keep in the front of your minds is the need for encouraging reproducibility and reuse of these solutions. And so from a technical perspective, that involves making sure that all the assets that you create are in essentially the public domain. Not really public domain, but released under an open source license. So by that we mean when you submit your Datathon results, we expect a link to a Git repository with the proper MIT license included, and with the expectation of reproducibility, so that someone coming to this without the personal knowledge of how this code is run would be able to navigate it in a reasonable way. So that's kind of, if you want to learn more about reproducible research, maybe we can add a link to this on the wiki, but this is a general area of scientific method I think we want to promote. So please be sure to submit a link to Git. It can be any, I mean, in general, we have a Git repository that you'll have access to in the global platform, but you can use GitHub, you can use public GitLab. It's not really important that this is, it just has to be open, and we're gonna fork it. We're gonna bring it, before we start doing the judging. So we'll keep a local copy for ourselves, but basically, yeah. Hope that. Does anyone have any questions on that? Hopefully, it's not unclear.
This was a question, basically where they can submit the code, and I think this has been made clear. I also saw a question about the credentials for the various services. So how will the participants receive those credentials? Maybe you can say also a few more words about this, and
Sure.
whether these are various credentials or yeah.
So there will be 4 major platforms that we're running. So several of these, I think AWS has its own authentication. So what I can say is we do have a single sign-on for some of these. For the Esri environment and for the AIS data, which you will need to request access to, you'll need to use global platform credentials, and you'll get an email in the next couple of days about how to set that up. So that's something you should keep your eyes out for. You can set that up in advance of the Datathon. You won't have access to any services, but you can still, I encourage you to set up your credentials, make sure you can at least log in and see that you're logged in, and you'll have, basically very limited access, but that'll at least ease you once you want to log in for the Datathon, and then that'll give you access to the Esri environment. And this is all going to be in the wiki if it's not already there. Esri and the AIS, if you request access to that in addition, we can activate that on your UN Global Platform account. And then, so I also believe for the Pet Lab environment, we're trying to see if we can work on that. Otherwise, you'll have a separate set of credentials that you'll receive over email, I believe. And then for the AWS, I believe they're handling that in a separate process. So I can't speak to that. Hopefully that helps, Alex.
Thank you. I see one hand up by Stephen. Stephen, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question. Stephen, on the top right. Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and it's for you, Mr. Edizanowski. Yeah, I wrote in the chat room, but I haven't gotten a response from you. I expressed the other time in Datathon that I wanted to join a team because I'm on study statistics. I think you know about it. I'm on study, and this is a great opportunity for me to form part of the data community. And I expressed that to you since, and you gave me a link to which I should send an email, and then I will then link all with the team. But since then, I haven't gotten reply, and it's sad that the competition is coming up, and yet I'm not with any team. I really want to take part in the competition.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for that question. I would suggest, as we are approaching the Datathon relatively quickly, maybe you can tell us in which country you are located, and maybe we can match you up with a team in your country. I think that would be probably the best approach. So maybe just put in the meeting chat in which country you are located, and we'll try to follow up with you after the webinar. Okay?
Okay, let me just say quickly, I'm in the Philippines.
Okay,
I'm from Liberia, but I'm in the Philippines on study.
Okay, great.
Alex, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was clicking on the wrong button. I also see the hand up by, I hope I pronounce it correctly, Raj or Raj?
Yes, Raj. Yeah.
Raj.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Alex.
thank you.
So I had a question regarding the um, categories on which the submission will be, like tested on. So I was curious about the pet section. So that has like its whole that has its own track, and I was wondering if we want to be considered in the pet track, would we be able to use like AWS services? Because it seems like there is some sort of like disaggregation between those two. So is there a way to kind of work on both services and be on track on pet as well as work with AWS?
Thank you, Raj. May I hand over this question maybe to Sean? I think you're probably the best person to answer that one.
Yeah, so that's a fair question. So I believe the AIS and the pet environment will be an environment that you will not be able to access outside of the specific infrastructure that is provided for that hackathon, for that Datathon track. And I think that's because you're essentially, if you think about it, you're accessing private information, and so there may be. I can check with some of the teams at Oblivious. Ronald, maybe you know otherwise, if they have sort of enable certain protocols where you can do it from localhost. But I do believe you'll have to log in and get access. But Ronald, are you able to? Do you know about how this works?
No, I just yes, it will be in a very protected area. The data sets. So the data sets which will be used in the pet challenge are related to food security. So these will be data sets which the microdata which have been made available by the Food and Agriculture Organization. These are surveys from about 20 countries. Via these privacy enhancing tools, you can extract data from those surveys, and those data you can then link up to other data sets, right? So you will be in a specific environment where you can use the privacy enhancing technologies, but the kind of information that you extract there, you can combine then in an AWS environment with other data sets to get your solution. So that's probably how you have to look at it. And we will ask our colleagues from Oblivious and Anti-Granular if there is an easier way to connect the outcome or the processing of those specific environment with for instance processing in the AWS environment. We will ask that question specifically to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronald. Before I take the next two people who have their hand up, I wanted to clarify one question which came up in the meeting chat about the different categories, like youth teams versus student teams. So for the youth teams, we will apply the definition that all team members need to be below 32. Below 32 means either you are 31 and you haven't had your birthday yet to become 32. So either you are 31 or younger. So all team members need to be 30 years of age or younger. What is a student team? A student team consists of members who are all enrolled in a graduate or undergraduate program at a university. So this can mean that, for instance, if you're a graduate student and you're already working, but you are enrolled at university, you would count as a student. So student teams will have all their members being students. So this also means that it could be that a student team is not a youth team because one of the members is already above 31 years. And by the other way around, also a youth team is not necessarily a student team. I hope I did not make things worse with my explanation, but I hope this helps. So let me now move on maybe to the next person who has the hand up. That's PL. So please, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I would like to know if there are previous submissions from the previous datathons or some links to the videos so that I can look and have some sense of what good submissions look like.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I hand this question to Umaima if you can. Or she
This is
might have
Clarence. I'm
lost
just
her
gonna jump in.
connection. Yeah,
I'm just going to
okay.
jump in real quick. But the links to the winners of the last 3 events are available on the website on the at a glance section. And there's, I believe they link to the previous webinars where we do have also additional videos of their presentations. So there's a wealth of information there if you just click on those links.
Sorry. Thank you, Clarence. Umaima, I saw you lost connection for a second.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you want
back.
to add anything?
No, I think this is pretty good. And yeah, we do encourage you to take a look at some of these solutions to get inspired. Yeah, but again, like we're open to any format, any idea that we might have. So like, don't get too hung up on them. Like this was a different theme, but it's good for reference.
Yeah, thank you. And let me take one question maybe from the chat before I move on again to the next person with a hand up. So there was one question about the AIS data. So the AIS data has, the question was, has the AIS data a geospatial component so it can be used as a geospatial data set? I don't know, Ronald, maybe you want to take this one?
I see that
Right.
Sean has a mic also open.
Oh,
I
Sean.
actually answered. I
It's
actually
okay.
answered it in the chat, and I'll give it then to Sean. So there is so we have suggested data sets in on the wiki on the geospatial, but it doesn't mean that that's all of the geospatial data that you can use. And definitely the AIS data have certainly a geospatial aspect to it. So yes, if you use AIS data, you have your geospatial dimension in there. To you, Sean.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly correct. I mean, the data has longitude and latitude, so that makes it gives you a point. And some of the example notebooks we provided go into quite a bit of detail about how to do some preliminary geospatial analysis using this. So if you end up with access to the AIS data, in general, you should keep in mind that it's enormous. It's about 15 terabytes of data, and so you can't load it all into memory. So you're doing geospatial analysis, but on a somewhat reasonably large volume of data, and in order to do meaningful analysis, you have to accumulate the results and that sort of thing. But there is a geospatial component, but it's also a classic big data type problem. You're going to have to use different approaches to analyze the data than you normally would if you're just doing, a data science tutorial in Pandas, because fundamental limitations of every compute environment, is that you use. If it's one computer, you're going to have limitations on memory and CPU, and you can't load everything in memory. And the way these systems are designed, they just fail if you try to. So yeah. Anyway, that's probably.
And it's just to add on to that, Sean, the AIS data are really good to zoom into an area, right? You can zoom into a specific port somewhere, or a specific coastal region. So you can. So in that sense, it's very good also to go to some specific geographical area where you want to say, because AIS data is about ships. It's maritime. You can see at certain areas along the coast how many ships are there, or at a port or something like that. So the localization is something that can be done very well, and then you also limit the number of data that you be looking at. Back to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. So we're already past the hour. I just want to take maybe 2 more questions, if that is possible. One is from Tim Carter, and I think that might be interesting for everyone. So He says, if, for example, we use another open source tool or build a web app, etc., and host them on EC2, will these remain up and running on AWS? If not, and we have to shut down all running virtual machines, is there any advice on how to keep them available for judging?
I can comment on that. No, I don't. I have to say, first of all, the answer is no. They won't be. They won't stay up and running. They will be shut down. And this is just this is totally beyond anything we can solve. However, there's some workarounds you can think of. Especially if you have developed an app and you think of this principle of scientific reproducibility, what you really want is to have the instructions on how to launch it, this and that, and you can do a recording of what the app does, right? So long as they're in, keeping in mind this reproducibility aspect, it's critical because we don't want to have situations where, oh, you've deployed an app and and you can't do it a second time, and people can't jump into your code and also figure out how to do it. So this is sort of the needle we're trying to thread, is that whatever creative solutions you have, they have to have a permanence to them that doesn't involve, a cloud spend. So we're not just going to keep these servers running. You have to package these things using code or using scripts. If you know GitOps, you can use some infrastructure as code templates. I'm not saying you have to do that, or you can just have documentation instructions. Launch this server. It can be generic enough in the context of what you're trying to do. You don't need to over-engineer that aspect if it's fairly understandable how to launch an EC2 instance and run a bash script, right? So I would say focus on the reproducibility aspect and whatever you want to show. I mean, maybe Ronald has some ideas, but I think recording your app, showing how it works is a great way to preserve that. So long as you have that code in a separate repository so people. So for instance, if I want to come, if we select you as a winning team, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure it works. You know what I mean? So I don't know, Ronald, if you want to say more about this.
I think you said it exactly, and yes, this the video recording of what your app does, I think that goes a long way, together with then the back end documentation about how it is done. Yeah, I think there is Srinivas has been waiting patiently with a hand up. Alex, back to you.
Yes, I want to hand over. So, Srinivas, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Thank you. Srinivas? If it's somehow, so on the top right, there's a microphone symbol if you want.
He says he's unable to unmute. Can we unmute him?
I can try.
You should be able to unmute yourself.
No, I can only I cannot unmute.
Yeah, we definitely can't unmute people if you think about it. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. No, I cannot do that. So maybe if you put it in the meeting chat, we will answer it there. Otherwise, we have May Ann. If you want to come in.
Oh, yeah, good evening. As I was hearing on the requirement, so we're just gonna make something that's reproducible. So it's like we're making a prototype, right? Yeah, it's prototyping. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You're focusing on the value added that you want to exhibit. You're not going to implement an entire architecture with caching and single sign on it. You know what I mean? We're really focusing on what is the minimum viable product. Yeah, the model. Yeah. Right, exactly. And yeah, does that help?
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if Ronald, do you want me to say anything? I mean, just I saw in the chat about this issue with the open source licenses and the tension with why we're using different providers. I mean, I think there's a very easy way to look at that. Is that there's a question from Juan, I believe, which asked about why we're asking people to have open source, but kind of promoting AWS and Esri. I mean, the way I see it, it is a balancing act, right? But the goal of the open source submissions is that we want to promote transparency and reproducibility, right? And why we are using these proprietary tools is that there simply are a lot of things that are unmatched in the open source world. I mean, there's no open source, electricity provider. There's no open source. So the world is, so to give teams a reasonable exposure to what classic data science environments look like from our perspective, It involves using cloud providers. It involves using, key vendors. And so we're trying to give teams a feel for what some of these end-to-end environments look like. And so open source is often built, say, on Python. And if you're using Esri, you can use Jupyter notebooks. But there may be some data sets that it's unreasonable to imagine we're just going to give you access to, you're going to download these. They're going to be hosted in a cloud platform. And because of the gravity of the data, these data sets are enormous. You have terabytes and terabytes of data. It has to be hosted somewhere and then has to be paid for as a utility. So I believe there's an inherent, we're not ideological in this. We're not trying to say it has to be open source. We're going to approach this with a bit of pragmatism and say, we have these valuable cloud providers that we're partnering with that are going to enable you to focus on what is going to bring value out of this data and not trying to figure out how to self-host, terabytes of cloud of satellite imagery so that we can, die on that open source hill, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? I think that I'm not trying to be facetious, but it's a very pragmatic decision. And I think this is representative of the real world. Sorry.
Yeah, and in addition, I think we also it was also in relation to the data that was being used, right? So for satellite data, you have like private sector, very high resolution satellite data, and what we would recommend. So I mean, if teams would be using that, it would be unfair to other teams which are not able to get hands on the high resolution satellite data. So that's where we would like to see that that if satellite data is used, it's on the public domain side, so that every team has the same possibility of doing that. So if you, I think we've had a question like that. So some people having access to high resolution data, you could develop your program on that, but in the final solution, it should be able to run on publicly domain satellite data to be fair to other teams, that it can be run as well by them. So that's a little bit also our open source aspects of it. Back to you, Alex.
Yes, thank you. We are already 10 minutes over time. I wanted to say, please ask any additional questions. Sorry, I was putting the wrong link in the chat. Apparently, Clarence has shared another link. So please, again, ask any additional question on Discord. We will try to follow up with you there. There was one question also about mentoring, what that meant. It actually means this, right? We will try to answer all your questions. Also, if you're stuck using one of the tools, there will be people who will help you to unblock yourself. That doesn't mean that they will provide the solution to your problem, but they might point you to a place where you can find the solution or the documentation and how to do it. So this would be that. And otherwise, thanks everyone for joining today. We said already there is an office hour happening right now. So if you want to switch over there. And thanks for joining, and thanks also to my colleagues for answering all the questions and doing the presentation. Good luck with the Datathon, and for the last couple of words, I will hand over to Ronald.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, so good luck to your team and to all your teams. Have a look at the wiki. There's a ton of information there. Please prepare yourselves. The Datathon starts Friday next week, in 7 days, 8 days from now, and yeah, I hope that once it starts off at that point, you know what to do, you know where to find things, and you sort of have an idea about which way to go, so that you hit the ground running, so to speak, once the Datathon starts. So good luck to everyone. Having fun is really important. So reach out to other teams. We're really global. We have teams everywhere. It could be fun just connecting around the world with various with people who are very working on similar or different problems, and try to see if we can indeed help some of these sustainable development goals issues, because we would like to see if we can actually contribute to that. If your team is able to come up with a great solution, we're very, very happy to highlight that in a broader for the broader audience. So thank you for that, and good luck. It starts in a week. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
luck. Good luck, those guys.